I went to Chernobyl, and now I glow, kinda. The photos were what got me. Not the staged ones, the tourist trap shots of the Ferris wheel or the gas masks. It was Boris's stuff. Raw, real. Photos that whispered of decay, of lives frozen mid-sentence. Photos from inside Chernobyl's exclusion zone. I'd found him on a defunct forum dedicated to urban exploration. We traded messages, me, Alex, a 28-year-old photographer with more wanderlust than sense, and Boris, a ghost in the machine, bragging about his unauthorized trips into the zone. He'd paint these vivid pictures, not just of the abandoned city of Pripyat, but of the surrounding villages, places the tour buses never reached, places that whispered of forgotten lives. It's not just about the photos, Alex, he'd typed, his broken English stilted but passionate. It's about feeling it, the silence, the weight of what happened. It changes you. I wanted to be changed. I was tired of the mundane, the predictable. I wanted to see the unseen, to capture the beauty in the grotesque. So I booked a flight to Kiev. Finding Dmitry was easy. A few well-placed inquiries in a dimly lit bar near the train station, a wad of dollars discreetly exchanged, and I had my man. Dmitry was Ukrainian mid-50s, with a face etched with the harsh realities of life. He didn't smile. He didn't talk much either, just grunted instructions and sized me up with eyes that had seen too much. "This is not tour, Alex," he said, his voice gravelly. "This is dangerous, you understand?" I nodded, a nervous excitement bubbling in my chest. I understood, I just didn't care. The drive to the edge of the exclusion zone was long and tense. Checkpoints appeared like specters on the horizon, manned by bored-looking soldiers. Dmitry knew the back roads, the dirt tracks that snaked through the desolate landscape. He paid off a few guards with cigarettes and crumpled bills. I stayed silent, my camera pressed tight against my chest, my heart hammering against my ribs. The zone itself, it was surreal. The air felt heavy, pregnant with unspoken stories. The silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional caw of a crow. We entered Pripyat first. Buildings clawed at the sky, skeletal remains of apartments, schools, hospitals. Toys lay scattered on dusty floors, frozen in time. Gas masks hung limply in doorways, silent reminders of the evacuation. Dmitry moved with a practiced ease, navigating the crumbling streets like he'd walked them 1,000 times. He pointed out landmarks, his voice flat and emotionless. The Ferris wheel, forever stilled. The Palace of Culture, its murals faded and peeling. The hospital, where the first victims were treated, their contaminated clothes still piled in the basement. I took photos compulsively, trying to capture the essence of the place. But the photos felt inadequate. They couldn't convey the feeling of wrongness, the sense that something was deeply, fundamentally broken. We spent the night in an abandoned apartment building, the silence pressing down on us like a physical weight. I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing faces in the shadows, hearing whispers on the wind. The next day we ventured further into the zone, towards the Red Forest. The landscape changed dramatically. The trees were stunted, gnarled, their branches twisted into grotesque shapes. The ground was a sickly shade of red, the soil saturated with radiation. The air hummed with an unseen energy, a low, constant thrum that vibrated in my bones. Dmitry became increasingly agitated. He kept checking his Geiger counter, muttering under his breath. Too much here. We need to go back," he said, his voice tight. "This is not good." But I was fixated. I'd seen something on an old map I'd found online. A faint marking indicating a location beyond the Red Forest, a place that wasn't officially documented. I pushed Dmitry. I offered him more money. He reluctantly agreed, his face a mask of apprehension. We walked for hours, pushing through dense undergrowth, the Geiger counter screaming in protest. Finally, we reached it. A clearing hidden deep within the forest. The trees were dead, petrified. In the center of the clearing, there was a concrete structure, half buried in the ground. Its surface cracked and weathered. No signs, no warnings, nothing. "What is this place?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Dmitry shook his head, his eyes wide with fear. "I don't know, and I don't want to know. We leave now." But I couldn't. Something was pulling me towards it, a magnetic force I couldn't resist. I stepped towards the concrete structure, and then it happened. A wave of heat washed over me, so intense it felt like my skin was burning. A searing light flashed before my eyes. I stumbled back, gasping for air. Dmitry screamed, grabbing my arm and pulling me away. Run, we ran. We didn't stop running until we were back in the relative safety of Pripyat. I felt strange, weak, but also strangely energized. Like I'd just run a marathon, but also like I could run another one. I dismissed it as adrenaline. Dmitry was pale and shaken. He wouldn't look me in the eye. Back in Kiev, in a cheap hotel room reeking of stale cigarettes, I started to notice the changes. A metallic taste in my mouth that wouldn't go away. Insomnia plagued by vivid, disturbing dreams. Increased sensitivity to light. I tried to contact Boris to tell him about what happened, but his online profiles were gone. His account deactivated. He had vanished. Then the physical changes started. My skin developed a faint, almost imperceptible glow in the dark. It was subtle, barely noticeable, but it was there. My hair started falling out in clumps. I experienced periods of intense nausea and debilitating headaches. I knew deep down what was happening. The radiation. It was inside me, changing me, transforming me. I confronted Dmitri. He denied knowing anything about the hidden area, about its purpose. But I saw the fear in his eyes. He was lying. What was it, Dmitri? I demanded. What did you take me to? He finally broke. It was an experiment from the Soviet times. They were trying to weaponize radiation, create soldiers who could withstand anything. And it failed, of course, it failed, it always fails. He spat on the ground. They buried it there, forgot about it, until you came along. He abandoned me that night, leaving me alone in Kiev with my glowing skin and my impending doom. Desperate, I sought help. I found Dr. Anya Volkov, a radiation specialist working at a government facility just outside the exclusion zone. She was skeptical at first, dismissing my claims as the ramblings of a delusional tourist. But when she examined me, her expression changed. The tests confirmed my worst fears. I had absorbed an astronomical dose of radiation, far beyond anything she had ever seen. She couldn't explain it. She couldn't understand why I wasn't dead. Your body, it's reacting in strange ways, she said, her voice hushed. It's like it's adapting. But to what? I don't know. The transformation accelerated. My skin became more translucent, revealing the network of veins beneath. The glow intensified, a pulsating luminescence that emanated from within. I was becoming something unnatural. I experienced hallucinations, vivid and disturbing visions of the disaster of the lives that had been lost. I felt a connection to the zone, a sense of belonging I couldn't explain. Dr. Volkov and her team tried to contain me, to study me, but I couldn't stay. I felt drawn back to Pripyat, back to the source of my transformation. I returned to the zone alone. Pripyat was different now, darker, more oppressive. I felt like I was being watched, hunted. I encountered other people, stalkers, scavengers who had made the zone their home. They stared at me with a mixture of fear and reverence. They whispered my name, calling me the Glowing One. One night near the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, I had a disturbing encounter. A group of stalkers, their faces gaunt and hollow-eyed, approached me. They knelt before me, offering me gifts, contaminated food, radioactive artifacts. You are the chosen one, their leader said, his voice raspy. You will lead us to salvation. Salvation? There was no salvation here, only decay and death. I wandered the zone for days, lost in a haze of radiation and hallucinations. I felt like I was losing myself, my identity dissolving into the landscape. I was no longer Alex, the photographer. I was something else, something more. I learned about the hidden area's true purpose, about the failed Soviet experiment. I found documents, buried deep beneath the concrete structure, detailing the research, the experiments, the human cost. They had tried to create super soldiers, but they had only created monsters. And now I was becoming one of them. I discovered a possible way to slow down the transformation, a ritualistic practice performed by some of the zone's inhabitants. It involved harnessing the zone's energy, channeling it through my body with unforeseen consequences. It was dangerous, insane, but I had nothing to lose. I performed the ritual alone in the shadow of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. It was a near-death experience, a journey into the heart of the zone's darkness. I saw things, felt things that I can't describe. When I awoke, the transformation had slowed, but it hadn't stopped. I was still changing, evolving. I was more attuned to the zone, able to sense its energies, to communicate with its spirits. I chose to remain within the exclusion zone. I became its guardian, a living embodiment of its power and its pain. I am no longer fully human, but I am also something more. I am glowing faintly, a beacon in the wasteland, forever bound to Chernobyl. What am I becoming? I don't know. I only know that the zone is a part of me now, and I am a part of it. I am the monster they created, and I am the price they paid. Maybe someday I'll understand why, but until then I will keep glowing.